Good morning, Annie.
Morning, Carrie.
It is so nice to see you, and I'm so excited about doing our Friday crumbs from the Pop Tart. I I think we should maybe just call it Pop Tart crumbs rather than Friday crumbs.
Okay, Pop Tart crumbs. Yeah,
Okay,
because people may be watching it at different times. It doesn't necessarily need to be Friday. So, yeah.
absolutely. So today is our daily good news, and it's for Friday, November the 6th. And we are truly, truly into fall.
Yep.
Yep. It's a beautiful time of the year. It makes me a little sad because it makes me think of what we're moving into. But I have to embrace winter because, like, it's only been 10 years now since we've really been up in this area.
But you know what? At least we have seasons. I know in other parts of the world, it never changes. It's always the same temperature. It's always the.
Yeah.
And I know some people are sitting there going, "Oh, we wish for that." But you know what? At least it changes. And I know when we have visitors here that they see the change in the colors, and then in the spring when everything starts to go green, it it's a change. And I think that's something that we in Ontario embrace. And across this country because we can. And yeah, it's bringing in. But some people love winter, especially us folks that get overheated so easily. It's great.
This is true. Good point, honey. There's some good news.
See, there's good news. I know people are groaning, but so one of our scriptures for today, of course, there's a number of them that are chosen for each day through the lectionary, and we always try and find, especially with the Pop Tarts, is we try to find something positive. And so one of our selections today was Psalm 69 and verses 1 to 23, which is it's an extensive psalm, and it is it's a plea for deliverance. It's a plea for, it sounds like somebody was in prison. I don't know the history but too much behind the psalm, but it's, if you were like we are right now, we're confined to smaller spaces than we've been. And you can hear the lament in the writer. But I just want to draw, I'm just going to read verses 13 to 18 because that's the part where the writer is really asking for God to be with them.
Okay.
As for me, my prayer is to you, O Lord. At an acceptable time, O God, in the abundance of your steadfast love, answer me. With your faithful help, rescue me from sinking in the mire. Let me be delivered from my enemies and from the deep waters. Do not let the flood sweep over me, or the deep swallow me up, or the pit close its mouth over me. Answer me, Lord, for your steadfast love is good, according to your abundant mercy. Turn to me. Do not hide your face from your servant, for I am in distress. Make haste to answer me. Draw near to me. Redeem me. Set me free because of my enemies. That just sounds so hopeful to me. Yeah, it's still a plea, but it sounds what God can do for us when we're in our times of trial. And there were two words, or it was one word that was repeated twice, and it was the word abundant. Mm-hmm. And that word is repeated throughout the psalm. Now, I'm assuming that in translation it is the same word as it was either in the Greek or Hebrew, but it's the word abundant. And sometimes I think we forget that there is abundance despite being confined. So that's where my thoughts took me. There was nothing more than that, other than that one section of the psalm seemed so uplifting and so hopeful. And it gave me strength.
That's awesome, Annie. And that's the gift of scripture, isn't it? I mean, it's not just for when things are happy and great, right? It's for when things can be challenging, when there can be sort of dark clouds on our horizon, or even thunderstorms right over our head. I think back to last week with that. I'm just going to move you for a second because we have. There we go. Sorry about that, folks. There we go. We had a little technical oops there because Annie couldn't hear anything I was saying.
No, not at all.
No, I was just saying, that you think about the storms that come our way and what do we turn to? We turn to Scripture for some guidance. And I actually, when we were reading this, when I was reading this psalm earlier today, I thought about a hymn that we've actually sung in Taizé. And I'm just going to grab oh, look at that. It's one of the few books I can really easily grab off my shelf. So it's a Taizé hymn that we sing when we come together. And now let me just see, 568. So, and it's a gorgeous hymn. And it's based on the words of Teresa of Avila. And the reason that comes to mind is I'm actually reading a book at the moment called Entering the Castle. Now, Carol, my Miss wrote the book, but she's based it on those beautiful words of Teresa of Avila, who imagines our spirit, our soul, as like this crystal castle with lots and lots of floors. And so this book that Carolyn has written sort of takes you on a tour of all of the rooms in our soul. As we find connection to God, and to our call and to our spiritual health. It's fabulous.
Never thought of my soul as having rooms.
Yeah,
Oh, dear.
so it's this big, huge kind of mansion, and it's full of all kinds of different rooms and all kinds of different aspects. And as you explore them and you go deeper and deeper down into these different levels of this mansion. And it's a beautiful book. And I love the writings of Teresa of Avila, which is what made me think about this hymn today. And it's called 560. It would be good if I could really count, right? So.
But it's funny how we don't have music in church like we used to. Pre-COVID, we sang hymns all the time.
Yeah.
And now I'm hearing hymns all over the place like I didn't. And I think that's probably because we haven't had the hymns to get to sing.
Yeah.
And now we're even reading a piece of scripture and it reminds us of something that reminds us of a hymn.
I know, isn't that amazing?
Yeah,
it's so
like,
cool. So
music is always there.
So the hymn is Nada de Turbe, all right? So, or in English, nothing can trouble. All right? And so in English, it's nothing can trouble, nothing can frighten. Those who seek God shall never go wanting. Nothing can trouble, nothing can frighten. God alone fills us. And those words came to mind as I read that psalm, and especially then as you read it to me this morning, right? God fills us, and with God there is nothing to fear. Even though on a day-to-day basis we can feel frightened, we can feel overwhelmed, but God walks through all of that with us.
And I think fear is just another emotion, and I'm not saying just in a demeaning way. I'm just saying that fear is an emotion that we have, and I think we can recognize when we're scared because we have times when we're not scared, or we're not anxious, or we're not fearful. And I think to know when we're not is also to know when we are, and then to recognize, and part of it is not being fearful of stuff we understand. Mm-hmm. But sometimes we kind of don't understand everything. And that's okay, because if we look at this part of the psalm that we took, it's okay just to give it up and give it up to God and say, you know what, I don't get it. I am turning to you because there's nowhere else to turn. Mm-hmm. And I always think of those, especially some that I journey with in my other worlds, that don't have God to lean on. Mm-hmm. And it always just amazes me that how can they get through things when they don't have God to look with them, through their eyes and see what they're seeing. And that always just amazes me. Yeah. So when I see psalms like this, it's just very just uplifting, just to know that somebody, however many thousands of years ago, wrote this, and it hits home today. Yeah. Yeah, and I love what you said about sort of that, what we know and what we don't know, that unknowing. And I think that's why the hymn came back to me
because of Teresa of Avila was a mystic, right? And so when we think about the love of God, when we think about the power of God, when we think about like just creation, there's so much we don't understand, right? There's so much mysticism around it, and it's such a cool thing to sort of just rest in that, right? To just almost to float in that sometimes, and know that so much of this stuff is beyond our comprehension and our full knowledge, but that we can rest on an abundance of hope and an abundance of faith, that the Psalms particularly I hear give us. They offer up such an abundance of not just help, but you can lay what's in the Psalm alongside what's happening in our lives, and it's as relevant today as it was when it was first told and then first written.
And isn't that amazing? That's the part that gets me. And again, you use those same words, abundance. I haven't even heard the word as much as I have now, and maybe I don't know why that is. I think maybe because we're looking at what we do have abundantly, and maybe the word was thrown around before COVID. I don't know, but it just seems I'm hearing it more now. Don't know why, but maybe we have a time to reflect on what we do have in abundance. Maybe it's in reflection of what we're missing. I can't answer that. But it's just interesting to see the word abundant coming up a whole lot. And allowing us to reflect that we do have abundance despite some lacks.
Well, and maybe that's the best place to end today, isn't it? The good news for the day that comes to us from this psalm is an abundance of God's presence, an abundance of hope, an abundance of grace, even in the midst of the circumstances we walk today.
I like that.
Yeah.
That's good.
Well, Annie, it was awesome chatting with you again today. Thanks so much for sharing this kind of awkward platform, but I think it's working.
It's kind of fun, and you know what? It's just a chance for us the two of us, to chat about a piece of scripture very quickly.
Yeah.
And I think it's kind of fun.
It is.
It's all good.
Well, have a great day. I hope everybody out there who's listening to us today has a wonderful day. Blessings, and we'll see you on Sunday.
Bye.
Bye-bye.